Going forward, I'm going to be walking you through the exact strategies that helps the kind of an entrepreneur I'm talking about scale rapidly, build significant wealth, and create lasting impact. For nearly 600 episodes, I've sat behind this microphone in our podcast various studios, and we've tackled some amazing subjects. We've talked about real-world struggles, business ownership, scaling, wealth building, and impact. But like any great business, this show is evolving. We're making a shift, not because anything is broken, but because we've grown. I've grown. I am not the same person I was a year ago. And after the refinement and the coaching I've received personally from my coaches over the last year, I now have 100% absolute crystal clear clarity on exactly where I'm going to be headed with this show for the next season. So this isn't a goodbye. Despite the title saying the final episode of the Justin Goodbread Show, this isn't a goodbye. Instead, it's a tactical shift. It's a shift that every successful entrepreneur, perhaps even you, have made whenever you recognize who specifically you are called to serve, and more importantly, how you can rock their world, how you can serve them better than anybody else in the marketplace. And that's where we're headed, friends. So let's take a step back and look at the journey. Years ago, I launched the Financially Simple Experience. And when I launched it, the idea I had was, how do I teach basic concepts to the mass market? See, at that time, I had just launched my company, Heritage Investors, which was a registered investment advisor. And I knew that I wanted to teach because I love teaching. I knew I wanted to create impact because I love helping people succeed. It's really a value of mine. And so I began a podcast. But quickly I discovered that, you know what? I like talking business. And so the Financially Simple Experience shifted from basic financial concepts in the first 40, 50, 60 episodes to how do I grow a business? And what I was ultimately doing was taking the knowledge I was learning from my various coaches, turning around, breaking it down, and speaking into this microphone. And what happened was magical. Over a short period of time of 49 months, from the time I launched the company to the time I sold the company, we had many, many, many milestone accomplishments. We wrote an international best-selling book, The Ultimate Sale. We wrote #1 on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, Your Baby's Ugly. Also reached number 56 on USA Today. I was able to achieve 4 times a top 100 financial advisor status here in the United States through Investopedia. We reached the Forbes Southeastern Leaders, being one of the top leaders in the financial community in the Southeast United States. And many, 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 many accolades. It was a lot of fun. But most important thing I learned, though, is when I was teaching in this microphone around business concepts, was listening to your success stories. It wasn't until Emily became sick during COVID that my life changed. I had this grandiose vision that I'm going to scale a company. It's going to be a multi-region, multi-state firm that we are able to impact literally tens of thousands of business owners. And then God had different plans. Emily got really sick during COVID, and we honestly thought she was going to die. It was one of the hardest times of my life. My best friend, the person I adore and love more than anybody else in life, we thought was going to meet Jesus. Ultimately, it was a stepping stone to, I believe, this point. We sold the company. And the firm that bought us didn't have the exact same personal convictions. Instead, it was a firm, it was a business that bought us versus a small mom and pop shop. And whenever I began speaking to the microphone, I had to move away from the authenticity that I love to speak and I love to pour into the microphone. And I had to move away from that and become a little bit more vanilla, a little bit more plain, a little bit more simple. Now, I didn't own the show. I was simply doing what I was asked. But I still cared for our listeners. And many, many listeners saw the change and they exited the listenership. Whereas we had hundreds of thousands of downloads and subscribers within the show, it fell to just a fraction within a 2-year period. The lesson for me that now I teach business owners is always be authentic, be yourself. And oftentimes we're scared that our authenticity will drive those away. It doesn't. People love genuineness. I love genuineness. I love it even when I don't agree with somebody. I love them being real. And I love having conversations around, well, interesting, tell me how you formulate that opinion. And then being respectful enough to say, I can see where you came from that. Or, I'm still not there. Help me understand a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, I firmly believe that every one of us, those of you who are listening to me and myself, and the people we all interact with, I believe at the end of the day that we genuinely want to do the very best we can do. I believe that with all my heart. So as I stepped into the president of this company, we scaled the company rapidly and it led to an exit. And through negotiation, I believe divine providence, I was able to gain back full rights to the Financially Simple experience with this idea that what if I could retool everything and position it to drastically impact today's business owners? So over the last year, you've heard me pour into a microphone from a different standpoint. What has happened has blown my mind. We went from just a few hundred downloads per episode to many thousand per episode within less than a year. People began commenting on social media, Justin, you're back. Where have you been, man? God has been working in my life in a powerful way, and I'm at a point where I can almost clearly say how he's affected my life. In fact, today's episode is one of those moments. See, over the last year, I looked at things differently. When I gained the podcast back, I didn't go straight after a niche. I paid attention who was making comments and who my message was resonating with. And though the process for the last 50 or 100 episodes seems conversational, coaching session-y, and kind of strategic in nature, it was all part of a design to gain crystal clarity on whom I serve. Most business owners don't scale past a few $1 million in revenue. In fact, only 9% of businesses in the United States actually generate more than $1 million in revenue, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. And depending on the type of business you're in, that $1 million in top line revenue could afford you an unbelievable income. I have business clients who are running at 80 and 90% margins. $800,000, $900,000 a year in income is nothing to sneeze at. But there are so many who are listening to the show presently have pulled my attention to, hey, help me start up. And that's not my passion. That's not my calling. See, going forward, I'm not talking to Frazzled Frank anymore. Frazzled Frank, as many of you know, was my avatar for many, many years while I owned Heritage Business Advisors. It was an individual who was trying to figure out how to run a business. But I've grown. I've changed. The people who are now listening to me have changed. Going forward, the show is not going to be designed for the struggling founder or the struggling startup who's trying to figure out everything and gain their first few clients. Going forward, this is a show for established entrepreneurs who are already winning, but know they can win bigger. Going forward, you're going to hear me talk about Resistant Randy, not Frazzled Frank, Resistant Randy. You see, let me explain Randy. Randy is 35 years of age or more, and they're running a service-based business, and they're making a lot of money. They're making $250,000 plus a year as a family, but they feel like they've hit a ceiling. They've got a team around them. Maybe it's 3 employees, depending on the business. Maybe it's 25 or 30 or 40 employees, but they're still involved in the company in every part of the operation or most of the operation. But they want more time. They want more freedom. But every time they take a step forward, they're faced with resistance. And it feels like as they push forward, they keep getting knocked back. The business drags them back down. In the South, growing up, we would go crabbing. You take this basket, this woven basket of twine, tie a piece of rotten chicken to the middle of it, put a brick on the bottom of it, and it looked like a basket like you would hold things in, and you would drop it down into the salt marshes of South Georgia, and what it would do is it would sit on the bottom of the river, and crabs would smell that decaying meat, and they would come get it, and they would start eating that meat. And then as you pulled the line up, the crabs would be in the basket, and you would have crabs, and you put them in a bucket. A lot of fun. And we would catch this Atlantic blue crab. It's about a 7 to 8 inch wide crab with big old nice blue pinchers. What's interesting about a crab, and this happens not just with the blue crab, but with many crabs around the world, is you can stack crabs in a bucket. And what happens is they crawl on top of each other and are constantly moving, kind of changing positions. Occasionally, one of the crabs will get their claws up to the rim of the bucket and they'll start trying to pull themselves up. What happens is another crab will see them making an advancement and grab onto their leg and won't allow them to actually exit the bucket. It's called the black crab syndrome. The same thing happens to business owners. And I want to talk to that person that is trying to gain freedom. They want more efficiency. They want more time for whatever reason. Maybe it's to spend time with their family like I wanted. Maybe it's to spend time traveling the world, which I now have the privilege of doing. Maybe it's so they can make more money, or maybe they got this company where like, man, I love this company, but I see something else over here that I really want to dedicate some attention to. Whatever the reason, as they try to scale, as they try to break through, they get pulled back. The listener going forward is somebody who is driven by legacy, heritage, financial freedom. Maybe it's time freedom. and impact. They're faith-driven. Over the last few episodes, I've spoken a lot more about my faith. What I hope is that I experience and you experience a joy and a freedom in knowing that, hey, there is no hidden agenda. I genuinely want to serve you. Our audience has values like integrity and hard work and family. They're self-reliant, but they struggle with delegation and burnout. We face things, pain points like micromanagement, inefficiencies, and struggles within our team, the people that we care about. People often say, we business owners, that we're curmudgeons, that we're narcissistic, that we're full of hubris pride. I just don't see that, friends. That's not the people that I talk with. The business owners I talk with, they're driven, yes. We're tenacious, yes. We'll charge hell with a water pistol, absolutely. You tell us we can't do something, hey, we're gonna prove you wrong. But at our core, it's about what can we achieve and how can we help others. That's the people I'll be speaking to. The person I want to speak to going forward is someone that aspires to have the business run without them. They're not simply looking to create a job for themselves. They want to become an investor, for that business to become an asset within their overall portfolio. They're seeking elite level financial independence and generational wealth. They crave systems, processes, clarity, direction, and actionable items. So going forward, this show is not about how to start a business or how to get unstuck. It's about how to scale, how to dominate, and how to exit wealthy on your terms. If you're the kind of entrepreneur, the kind that knows that you're not reaching your full potential, that you are designed for more, then friends, I'm telling you, next week is going to get good. Oh, I cannot wait for you to see what's coming. So what's coming? Next week's a whole new show. Next week, we're coming back bigger, clearer, and more intentional than ever before. One of the things I've learned now after 600 episodes is how to deliver a message, true. How to make it concise, true. But how to provide you with nuggets that you can take away and instantly apply in your business for maximum value. Your time and my time is expensive. The very fact that you're listening to me right now is humbling to me because I know how valuable your time is. So let me give you a behind the scenes look at what's coming. You know, for the last 600 episodes, I've had less than about 30 guests on the show. That's changing. For the last 600 episodes, I've only had about 30 guests on the podcast. It's basically been me teaching what I was being taught. If I let you behind the scenes, I hired some very dynamic coaches, and the coaches were teaching me, and I was implementing them in my business, and I was taking my knowledge, and I was turning around and sharing it with you. Going forward, I'm tapping into my network. Over the last 30 years as a business owner, I've had the privilege of meeting some of the most successful business owners in the world. I've had the privilege of talking with their coaches, the people who help direct them and guide them. So going forward, you're going to hear more and more episodes around guests who have achieved a certain qualification, who are rapidly approaching that qualification, or coaches, consultants, advisors who are teaching business owners how to reach this qualification. My challenge for you is this, friends. This next chapter of my life is not for everybody. Where I'm headed is specifically designed to reach that individual, that business owner who is consistently pushing for more, not for the sake of self-gain, but because you know you can. That person who doesn't want to settle. That person who realized that mediocrity is the enemy of mastery. Friends, if that's you, it's about to get good. Man, I'm so excited. This next phase of the show, I trust, I know, dare I say, I can almost guarantee will change the way you approach business forever. So I'm going to ask you to do something I've never done before. We have a new episode coming out next week. If you're listening to this show and you do not follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever your social media of choice is, may I challenge you immediately, go out and follow me. In fact, what you're going to see on these channels is you're going to see some things that so many that just listen to my voice miss. You're going to have the opportunity to provide instant feedback around this new show's theme, the branding, and the mission. And I want you to be a part of this. I want you to share in this journey. This is the last episode underneath my namesake, the Justin Goodbread Show. This is the last episode that will have Financially Simple involved anywhere in it. But we're coming back bigger and stronger, and I hope more impactful than ever. Going forward, I'm going to be walking you through the exact strategies that helps the kind of an entrepreneur I'm talking about scale rapidly, build significant wealth, and create lasting impact. This next phase is going to knock it out of the stratosphere. And if you wanted to take this journey with me, friends, I hope to see you next week. Until then, y'all stay tuned.